I'm making another one of these bullshit low quality videos, but it's what I deem to be the best video game of all time, The Long Dark. But anyway, yeah, I know it's been a while since I made a video, so thank you all. And like I did for the Ready or Not video, this video is going to be low quality as shit, and it's going to be done on Google Slides because I can't edit to save my life. But without further ado, this is my Blackfrost wish list. The first thing that I have on the list is more animals. Personally, I would really like to see animals like foxes, geese, and seals, and you may have already seen the crow. My reason for that is crows are already in the game, but you can't do anything with them. You should be able to find them on carcasses and maybe have the chance to kill them so you can get a little bit of meat and you can pluck extra feathers instead of just finding the feathers on the ground around deer carcasses and stuff like that. Something that I think would suit having more animals be pretty well is that for the main thing being meat, but also for foxes you can use their pelts to either make a head wrap like the cougar, or you can make gloves out of like fox hide maybe, but maybe instead of it being more like the rabbit mittens, it's more like the gauntlets where it's actually like longer. You get what I mean. For seals, I feel like they would also give oil, which would be something that I think would serve pretty well for, like lantern fuel and things like that. Feathers, I also feel like if there were multiple different types of feathers, like how we have the ptarmigans and then we have the crows, but the ptarmigans are mainly used as insulation, the crows are mainly used for the actual arrows. I feel like goose feathers, you would need less to make arrows, and crow feathers you may need more, because I feel like the smaller feathers are a bit of an issue. I feel like I've seen more like bushcraft videos of people using goose feathers than I have of them seeing crows. More weapons. My personal favorite ones here would be a semi-auto rifle and a shotgun. As well as new ammo types. But going back to the actual weapons, I would want to see things like as you can see from these images, semi-auto rifles, shotguns, crossbows, and a compound bow. I feel like a compound bow would do more damage, and same thing for a crossbow. But the crossbow you can actually crouch with the bow. I think you can crouch with the bow in the long dark, but it's more of a skill upgrade. I'm not really sure. Semi-auto rifles, my reasoning for that is if something's running at me, I don't want to have to shoot and then rack a bolt every time. I know that the Long Dark is supposed to be kind of a difficult survival game, but I feel like having the ability to find this really rare rifle in either a prepper stash or a police station or something like that, where you can find a gun that is actually really good. Same thing for a shotgun. I feel like shotguns, this also opened with having a shotgun. I feel like it would also open up to having more ammo types, such as for shotguns, you can have, slugs, buckshot, and birdshot. Birdshot, you would mainly use it on rabbits and birds and geese. Buckshot, you'd probably use it on wolves and deer, and slugs, you would probably use them on bear and moose and maybe even seals. I'm not sure how durable seals are against bullets, but I would think a slug would do decent damage to a seal. Something else I also feel like I should mention whenever it comes to ammo types, I feel like glowing arrows. When I mean glowing, I don't mean like the arrow themselves glows, but if you've ever hunted with a crossbow or any type of bow that uses like carbon arrows, you know that probably some arrows on like the back of them, they have like a thing where if you shoot and it hits, it will glow at the back of it, where it will light up so you can find it easier. So that's something that I feel like would be nice, whether it's just an arrow type or it's mainly just something for the crossbow or anything like that. I think that's all that I have in mind for weapons. But next up, a dog sled. And before I go into something much about the dog sled, I actually, as soon as I was making this, I immediately went into the Long Dark Discord server just so I could look around and stuff. And I went under their Blackfrost section, and somebody posted a picture of concept art of wild dogs chasing a deer. So I would assume dogs would be in the game. Whether they are friendly or not is probably going to be a bit of an issue. Who knows? Maybe you can find dog food in the game and you can leave it out and you can feed the puppers, or they'll just try to rip your face off. Either or, I think a dog sled would make a lot of sense because we already have. I'm not sure if we have donkeys, but I think it's at least horses and mules, or it could just be horses. But with having, sorry, I knocked over my water. But with having a large animal, I feel like having the horse, it would be very good for like a sled or just riding on your own. But I also feel like having the dog sled would give a better advantage because you would have a pack of animals that would ward off something like a bear or wolf attacks and stuff like that. Because if it's just you on a horse, I feel like the horse is gonna try to bolt and get you away from a bear, but the dogs are just gonna start barking and barking and barking and just trying to make as much noise and be as aggressive as possible to get a bear to go away. So I feel like the dogs would probably be a very good deterrent for any sort of large wildlife. Also for some of you who think that wouldn't work, I would recommend you look up hunting videos where people use dogs to chase mountain lions up in trees. It's really cool. I'm just saying it's really cool. Teamwork against struggles. Now, this one is something that I really want to see. This is probably the only thing that I could think that I want more than this would probably be the shotgun. Teamwork against struggles. What that means is, how many times have you been this guy in the bottom two pictures? How many times have you gotten jumped by a wolf or by a bear and just absolutely ripped to pieces, and you can't do much about it? But since they're adding multiplayer, I feel like a smart thing for Hinterland to do would be if you're holding a melee weapon and if you run up to one of your friends getting attacked by a mountain lion or a bear or a wolf, you're able to left click and it puts you in a little animation of you just beating its ass. And depending on how many people are joining in on attacking the animal, depends on the success rate of it being a successful chasing the animal off. If, as like my first bullet point here says, jumping hostile wildlife with your friends is basically all I can imagine it as. Just, okay, close your eyes and picture this. Okay, imagine you're playing Blackfrost and you're walking through like a forest and then you just hear your friend yell, "Bear!" and then he starts to get mauled. And you pull out a fire axe and then you proceed to run up on this bear and do like a Viking for Valhalla thing and just into the bear, and your two other buddies run up with their own weapons and just start hacking at it and just chase it off. Doing this as in terms of like the teamwork against wildlife struggles, I feel like it would, as I said, with certain, I don't feel like I mentioned already, but you can see it, it being different for each animal would probably be something that I think would be very useful, because if there is a wolf, I don't think that it would take more than just a guy running up behind it and just with the axe right to the back of its head. I don't think that would do much other than just kill it. So if it's for a wolf or maybe even a wild dog, like how it showed in, like how I said that I saw in one of the concept art images, if it's a wolf or something like that, I don't think it's gonna take much other than just one guy with a knife to just come up behind it and stab it and get it to fuck off. But with a bear, if it's one guy, it's just going to turn its attention to the other guy and just rip him to pieces. So having multiple people needed for different types of animals, at least for a success rate, it would, in my mind, I think it would probably be best. Something that I also kind of think of for this is, in my mind, you don't need to kill the animal. For the wolf, it would be very likely, depending on what weapon you try to attack it with, that it would just kill it. If you were, I assume, because in the trailer you see a guy chopping down a tree, and I would assume he's using something like a fire axe or just like a big logging axe, something like that, instead of the little hatchet. But I picture if somebody was using that against a wolf and they just hit it, it would just right into it and it would die. Or if it would run a little bit and then bleed out and die. For something like the bear, I feel like it would resist it a little bit more. And if it's just one, and depending on what weapon it is, in my mind, I'm either listing it for a struggle with a bear or a struggle with a wolf. If it's a wolf, it's just going to get absolutely cooked depending on whatever weapon it is. It's going to either run off or it's going to die from just one hit. If you're using a knife against the wolf, like I said, you stab it and it probably just runs off. If you're using the fire axe, it hits and then it will just walk and die. But with a bear, I would assume, in my mind, like I said, you don't need to kill the animal for it to be a success. The animal can just run off. So even if you don't have a 3-person to attack the bear, because if you're in a full group of 4 people, one guy's getting it. One guy was first attacked, so he's out of commission, and then the 3 other guys have to join in to chase the bear off. But I assume, in my mind, if one guy has a fire axe and he hits the bear and the bear pulls back, and then like it does like an animation of like the guy like lifting the axe up, like he's trying to make himself look bigger, because I know that Hinterland made it to where the wildlife acts like this only for gameplay reasons. They know that wolves and black bears don't normally attack people, so I would assume for Blackfrost, it would kind of be the same thing, where if you try to make yourself in like an animation, if your guy like has that fire axe and he like stands up and he's trying to make himself look bigger, the bear has a chance to just run off, or it could just try to attack him. But sorry, I've gone on a lot about this one because I really like the idea of just jumping wildlife with your friends. Next up is proper animations. Some things in The Long Dark don't have animations for doing, and some of them I don't really blame it for not having them, but others I'm kind of confused on why it doesn't have any. Like if it's just a long crafting animation, yeah, I don't want to sit through a big thing and just see this long thing of just the guy putting everything individually together. But if it's just walking up to a tree limb and just hitting it once and twice and a couple times and then just breaking off all the pieces of wood you need, then I would like that. So you can at least get like an animation of you doing that. Same thing for sewing, like patching holes in clothes, or even if you got attacked by an animal, and if you apply disinfectant, you can see your guy pouring it on it, and then a bandage, and then you can see him wrapping. And depending on where you are hurt, or where you were injured, it will change the animation. So if it says that you have I don't know if this is, screw it. If you just have a cut to like the stomach because a wolf bit or something, you see your guy kind of tilt himself back and pour antiseptic on it if you use antiseptic, and then you see him have a bandage and then wrap it around that part of the body. It doesn't, a bullet to the head doesn't mean patch up the wrist, okay? That's basically what I'm saying. Like, it's procedural of like where the damage is, the character changes it. More tools and items. This is something that I think is kind of cool. Some of them are very situational, but I feel like they would serve very well. A bear trap, the main ones I came up here with was a bear trap, Walkman, pencil, compass, glow stick, and a single whistle. Just going in order. The bear trap, I assume, because you can make a snare and you can capture rabbits. So in my mind, I would think if there's something bigger and if you were to use a bear trap on it, you could get it. If it was a wolf or a fox or a moose, something like that, it would get caught in the bear trap. It wouldn't. Maybe for smaller animals, like if it was a fox or a wolf, it would bleed out faster and then it would die. But for bigger animals, I feel like it would get stuck in there for maybe days if you don't even check on it. But it would kind of just be trapped in the thing. And depending on how much it wants to get out, it may just break the trap if it's something like a bear. Next, the next like tool and item I came up with was a Walkman. And this seems completely useless. And if I can be honest, it really is. In the long dark, we have the Polaroid camera, and that is something that I think is very useless, but it's something to try to get anyway, because it shows that you went to extreme lengths to get this item so that you can document your survival. And I feel like something like a Walkman would probably be really good if you were able to find, using the Polaroid camera as a reference already, in the long dark, you can find Polaroid films. You can find black and white, sepia, and colored films. And if they added a Walkman, then you can find the Walkman itself, but you can also find different music tracks with like 3 to 4, maybe 5 songs on them, where you can have like a list of different songs, and then you can just play it. Where it doesn't serve a really big purpose. It's more of a cosmetic item, but it shows that you went to extreme lengths to get this. Whether it doesn't need to be on top of a giant mountain in a radio station, in a weather station, but it could at least be somewhere that's kind of hard to get, but possible to get to where you can say, hey, I went to great lengths to get this item. And you can find, like I said, you can find cassettes, I think, are what they're supposed to be. You can find cassettes that are, that just have like different types of music on it, whether it's rock and roll, whether it's classical, country, stuff like that. You can just find different music, and then you can put on little headphones, and then you can just listen to music in the game. Or, you just don't have to do that, or it can just be an item that you find. Next up is a pencil, which is basically charcoal, but it's reusable. The pencil has, in my mind, the pencil has a durability, and it can be used 10 times. You can mark things up 10 times before it just breaks. Also something that I think would be kind of neat is maybe if you use it like 1-2 times, it becomes dull and you can't use it, and you have to use a knife to sharpen it, and then you can use it again. This is basically just so you don't have to carry around a bunch of charcoal. If you want to go map this new era, you don't have to carry like 3 pounds of charcoal. You can just carry like a pencil or 2, and then you can have personally, whenever I play the long dark, my kit is just an axe, a pistol, a knife, and a pry bar. And I always carry that stuff on me. So I would assume if I had a pencil in the game, I would just have a hunting knife, and I would just chip off enough of the wood so I can get to the lead again, and then I can, or graphite, whatever it is, where I can just write again, or not write, I can just draw the map again. A compass. This is also kind of useless in my opinion, but I feel like if there were puzzles that say go due north or go somewhere, and you need like direct things, you can find a compass, and you're able to look around, and you're able to find just which direction is which. A glow stick is kind of basically the same thing as a flare, except it doesn't really scare off wildlife, and it's mainly used for, I would assume, I think flares are valuable. I don't personally use them a bunch, but I feel like flares are very valuable sometimes, and if you just had a glow stick, you can just snap it, and if there's something, or if you want to see how deep it goes or something like that, you can just drop it down, and it will just go until whatever. And this one I feel like may definitely be useful, a single whistle. For those of you who don't know what this is, whenever a hiker is lost, sometimes sometimes if you go hiking or camping or something like that, sometimes you may bring a whistle. And the reasoning for that is so if you get lost, you can help first responders find you. Now, in the collapse, there is no police, there is no ambulance, nobody's coming for you, except for your buddies in multiplayer. So what I would assume that you would do is you would just have the single whistle, and if you get lost or if somebody's looking for you and you can't describe where you are, you just blow the whistle. You pull out a whistle and you blow it, and then it sends like an audio thing and you can find it. Also, what I think is it may scare off some wildlife. I think it would scare off more so passive animals such as foxes, deer, rabbits. I'm also assuming whenever I say like new animals, I assume just the animals that I suggest as well being in the thing, because these are my suggestions, or my wish list, I should say. But yeah, blowing a whistle would scare off some wildlife. It may scare off like a single lone wolf or maybe a lone dog. Just things like that. Something else that I also think, but I didn't add it onto any of the slides because this is the last slide. Something else that I think would be needed in this game is proximity chat, because if you want to be like fully immersed in the game, I feel like not just hearing and somebody joins the Discord call and it's like, hey man, are you playing Blackfrost? Yeah, join the thing. I feel like actually being in the thing and then you're able to do a proximity chat and you're able to actually talk to somebody in the game would be nice. Oh, also going off of multiplayer, something else I think would be kind of neat is that I would assume, since this is a multiplayer game and you can actually see your character, they have a character creation. Maybe not so much as clothes, but you can at least customize like facial things. Maybe not so much a body, but more, you know what I mean? Just basic character customization. Something that I think would be kind of neat is if you had like different, basically classes, where you have ones that are, the few that I thought of was police officer, construction worker, and hunter. Those are the main ones I thought of. And you get a skill bonus in certain things, where if it's a police officer, you get a bonus in semi-auto rifles and shotguns. And if you're a hunter, you get bolt action rifle proficiencies and bow or crossbow proficiency, or just like, you know how like the skill things go from like 1 to 5, it basically becomes a 2 instead of you starting on 1. As well as doing certain actions, it cuts down on the time needed to do them. Or if you pick hunter, you can skin an animal faster. If you're a construction worker, you can craft something faster. Or if you're a police officer, you can clean a weapon faster, stuff, or you can shoot, or not shoot, but you can like reload and do stuff like that faster. That was something else I thought of. Going through multiplayer, another thing I thought of was the idea of having being able to spawn away from your friends. That sounds dumb. If you're playing this survival game, you obviously want to be together. But some people may just want to play the game and not find their friends for a long time and just eventually run into them. I want to see a player spawn in the city region, and then I want to see somebody spawn on like a coastline somewhere in the middle of nowhere, or somebody spawning up on a mountain or in the woods, something like that. I would like the idea of just spawning away from people, or you can spawn in the same region as them and then you can find each other easier. But I feel like if you were spawning in different regions, then you're able to get equipment and stuff, and you can meet up together and then go from there. But so far, that is my wish list for Blackfrost. I really hope that a lot of these things do become part of the game. As I kind of ranted on forever about, I really hope the wildlife struggles with your multiplayer friends helping you comes to the game. I also hope, because it seems like they're going to be adding NPCs, whether they're hostile or friendly. I feel like if you were to get attacked by a wolf, maybe an NPC, if he was nearby and he saw it, he's able to come up and help assist you. That's something else that I think would also be kind of fun, but I don't really know. If I had to say my most favorite things on this wish list that I really, really want for the game, teamwork against struggles, either the semi-auto rifle or shotgun, and probably the idea of a pencil, Walkman, and single whistle. Those are the main things that I would like to see in Blackfrost. Will it be added? Who knows? We'll have to wait until probably May, June, July before the game comes out. I'm also looking forward to Wintermute Part 5, where they are adding, I think they're just adding a new region to the Far Territory, or if it's a new just base location thing. And the thing I'm also really looking forward to is being able to find that fire axe that's trapped inside of that ship, because that seemed to be a thing that was there. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'll see all of you in the next one. Till next time.